Hey, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Andrew.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Kevin.
And a very special warm welcome back to our friend Kevin, who's been busy with production work. And we're very happy to have him back.
I'm so happy to be
I'm
back.
like swelling with happiness.
You
saw
so
me,
much.
You saw me in the hall the other day, and you were like looked at me like you hadn't seen me in
Because I hadn't.
years.
But anyway, happy to have you back. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
And thank you for joining us. After that introduction, our first bit of news is sad news. Coming out of South Carolina, there was an accident at the what was the name of it? The
North Charleston Performing
Arts Center. A little while ago, where the technical director there, who had been there since the 90s, I guess, when they opened, 1999, I guess, a long time ago, and a long-standing force in the entertainment community there in Charleston, died from a genie falling over, essentially a lift. And he was alone when it happened, around 4:30. No one else was around. He was probably doing something that every one of us has done a million times, doing something that they maybe shouldn't exactly have been doing, and we do it all the time, and it's a sober reminder that that is not a good idea for lots of reasons. 50% of all workplace-related accidents are from falling, from in some manner, off a ladder, off of a chair, off of whatever. And 75% of those result in either time lost or serious injury or death. So it's serious business, and take care of yourself, please.
Yeah.
So I think that's all we have to say about that article.
I think so.
Yeah. Well,
Same.
OSHA is going to conduct an investigation. It'll take like 6 to 8 weeks to figure out sort of what
If
happened.
there was a violation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say pretty much what you said already was that like it's pretty likely that they will. I would guess, I could be wrong. They'll conclude that he was sort of doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing, and that like he was alone and maybe he hadn't tightened everything down correctly or whatever. But it's like, as you said, it's things that we do all the time because it seems like no big deal until it is a big deal.
Yep, it's a bigger deal than we think. So,
Be safe.
on that note, moving on to article by Shane Smith.
And it's called TV and Film Production Costs Don't Make Sense in the Digital Era. And it's written by Shane Smith, who's a guest columnist for Variety in this case. He's also the Vice Media co-founder and CEO.
And does anybody know, is that Vice Media as in Vice Magazine, as in Vice the documentary series?
Well, I think it's one and the same now, right?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if he's the guy that produces Vice, the documentary series.
Oh, I would guess that because he's a CEO, it would be an umbrella, but I don't really know. Do you know?
No.
Yeah, I would guess an umbrella. You can look that up.
I'll look it up right now. Go ahead, talk.
We're going to look it up. So this is part of Variety's Broken Hollywood feature, and it's about, he's writing about the fact that there's a problem with legacy media in that they depend on comparing high cost of distribution to production costs. So in other words, it's really expensive to distribute media in sort of the old way, so to television and to theaters. Yeah. And so production costs have to somehow make up for that, and that they need. I mean that makes sense, right? So your investments need to pay off, so that people are more likely to bet on guaranteed successes. So safer things usually. So the example he's giving in this is the Voice being something that's really expensive, or really it's expensive to make, but it also pays off. So people look at that and say, oh, well, we should make 1,000 versions of The Voice. But when you do that, you end up with a saturated market full of nothing but The Voice, and that doesn't make sense. And what he's saying is that in new media, it tends to be a way that, we have, I think on this table we have 5 examples. Right now we have 3 computers and 2 phones, and that this is a way that people are now, we're shifting toward consuming film and television on devices like these, which have very low distribution costs. Unless you're advertising, which these people do, they tend to do, but if you don't need to advertise necessarily, and the distribution costs are nothing, or the cost of your website, so you can produce new kind of, he's saying
Yeah.
maybe more daring work or more interesting work because you can be a little bit more experimental with it.
I totally see the argument for film. Distribution is to movie theaters is an incredibly expensive thing.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get his argument about television at all. I don't think he even really tried to make it that well. It is expensive to produce a new series, but if you look at the successful television, I realize now as I'm saying this, what I consider successful in terms of television is like good television, like
Mhm.
well-made series, like Breaking Bad, The Wire, all the television shows that I love.
Mhm.
Are good because of their high production value, because of the cost. It's almost cinematic, the level to which television has risen in the past 10 years or so, in response to, I'm not sure what, but point being, to me, success in television, it is an expensive endeavor, and that's what is driving quality.
Mhm.
I don't see cheap television being good, right?
Mhm.
Like it's just not, the same thing. But
Well, and
You're a media
it doesn't
maker.
last very long.
yeah, exactly.
And for every show like The Wire or Breaking Bad or Downton Abbey or, any other of a number of TV shows that are sort of considered like in this pantheon of great TV from the last.
That man is totally going downhill, but we don't have to talk about it.
I've
We'll
never
get
seen
into
Downton Abbey. But, for every one of those, there's a show like, what was that horrible Chloe Sevigny TV show that was here like last year? And I saw like the pilot and I was like,
I don't know.
oh my God.
Well, he
But,
mentioned,
there's like probably like 10 of those for every, great TV show.
and that's what I realized. What he mentions is The Voice, which is apparently the #1 show on TV.
Right.
Really?
Really popular.
So, okay, if that's what we're talking about, problem is I just don't really know what TV is really mostly about.
Well, and I mean, his use of the word success maybe would be problematic, I guess, in the way that
It's
we're
true.
talking about it, because what you're describing as a successful TV show is one that people
Yeah.
watch, but also is good and might stand up to
Yeah, does
scrutiny.
Mad Men make money?
Right, exactly. I have no idea. And you know what? Part of why this,
sure,
I mean, it probably does,
But I don't know.
but we don't know. So I think part of what makes this argument maybe not as strong as it could be is that there is no data to back any of this up.
Right.
So he might be totally right, but I think it's hard for us to know.
Yeah.
Mad Men, it seems like Breaking Bad would make a lot of money, but it could be one of those things where it costs a lot to make it, and so it doesn't. I don't
He's
know.
also talking just in terms of like distribution, like, there are a lot of web series maybe
Sure.
the past couple years that have been super successful and then gone on to become TV shows, like
Sure,
Broad
Broad
City,
City,
for
yeah.
instance, which like still it doesn't cost nothing to produce that,
Right.
but to distribute it you just throw it up on
Exactly.
on your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And so in that way, like that's an enormous cost that's been alleviated that, allows you to put that money into better production values
Mhm.
or, concept development or better actors. So,
Yeah.
in that sense, like the market is changing a lot.
Yeah, I guess I think what I objected to was his statement that all you need is like a camera and like an actor and you can make great television. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that didn't ring true.
I mean, maybe you can if you're like, well, no, because even the original Office like still had like some production value.
Yeah, totally.
I guess if you're making like a Blair Witch style TV show,
Yeah.
then
Well, and like,
yeah, that's all you need.
That'd be like reality TV at my
I mean, look at us. We're making great TV right now.
this is very good. This is gonna take off.
Yeah, we're gonna be famous one day.
So, but I think, we do see, even with your argument, that there is a shift in the way that television is being made and consumed.
Sure.
There's
Oh
this,
yeah, I don't watch do you guys have televisions?
I
I don't
have,
have cable.
yeah, I have an
Ah.
ancient television because my boyfriend watches sports. So, there you go.
I have a television with a built-in VCR that I use to watch Legally Blonde on VHS.
It's stuck in
Yeah.
TV, so I just watch that.
Yeah, it's just my Legally Blonde TV. I have another TV with for Bring It On.
In the
Anyway.
bathroom. All right, so that was that. Our next article.
I can talk about this
yeah,
one.
I think you
Yeah.
should.
So
Kevin's ready for it.
this one is called Eve Ensler Responds to Concerns Over the Vagina Monologue's Inclusivity. It's by Carolyn Cox, and it showed up on themarysue.com. Basically, what happened was there's a little bit of a controversy last week or the week before when Mount Holyoke students decided to retire the vagina monologues in favor of creating their own more inclusive play, which mimics the style of the vagina monologues. The students said that they decided to do this because they found the original text problematic and that it offered an extremely narrow perspective on what it means to be a woman. So they took issue with the show being transphobic, not being inclusive of trans people. They said that it treats homosexuality questionably, and so they are embracing the spirit of the text, if not the content. So they are creating original monologues that are more reflective of the issues relating to gender and sex and class that we experience today, as opposed to in the early 90s when the original text was made and performed. So what did you guys think about this? Like, so there's the student's decision to do this, and then B, the bulk of the article is Eve Ensler's reaction to it. So,
which I think was mostly positive. Like she wasn't saying like, "Oh, these people are jerks for doing this." Like,
yeah,
she seemed to have a pretty good handle on the fact that people should do their own stuff. She was quick to point out, and I think that she should, that it's a play that she wrote from a certain perspective at a certain time and for a certain audience. So people, in my opinion, people often expect things to be something that they're not because it's called Vagina Monologues, because it's like sort of sex forward or whatever, that they expect it to be then something about everybody's experience or everybody's difference or whatever you want to call it, but it's just not. So.
I think that the text, when it was I don't think Eve Ensler could have imagined when she wrote this that it would become the phenomenon that it is today and something so canonical. And I don't think, as she says herself, she never expected it to become this, and she sort of wishes that it were irrelevant at this point, that it didn't need to keep being performed, but we're not in that world where women are respected equally and can sort of raise these issues that she raised are still present, still with us.
Well, I spent the first half of the article trying to figure out what the heck they were talking about, because I didn't realize that this was a thing that people did this show around Valentine's Day, right? Like this is a thing that's done. I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it. It's like the reason it's still a phenomenon is it's become a tradition for some groups of people to perform this. Which if that's true, if you're going to do it every year, I think it totally makes sense to update it. I mean, especially with its format that it's just a bunch of monologues anyway.
Yeah.
So throw some in, and she even points out that she's worked with people in the trans community to write plays on at their request, and she's also included a monologue that you can add to the Vagina Monologues about being trans. So I was like, if anything, she gets it and is thinking, let's talk about being trans. And I think she's also right that this, not every play can be about everything, which I think is true of any person trying to speak for people who don't have as much of a voice as they should. It's like, I think we read an article that talked about there's a new series called Off the Boat that's about Asian families and immigration, and but it's one family in suburbia, and some people in the cast have talked about how strange it is that they know that they don't have to speak for all Asian people everywhere, but they do have there's a strange focus on them as needing to speak for everyone. It's like, that just doesn't make sense, which I think is true for this. It's like, she can speak for some people, but it's like, she never said, this is all women. She's just like, here's some women, and they are.
And it's really like, it shouldn't be an issue, and it's not really an issue that Holyoke has said, okay, we've done this for 10 years, now we're going to do something else.
Right.
Yeah, they were sort of just like, okay, yeah, we're changing it up, and Eve sort of was like, yeah, that's cool. Like, it's not like this play has to speak for everybody forever.
Right.
And so both no one involved who matters actually seems to care that much.
Yeah,
it seems like an issue of the media sort of taking a controversy
This
and
author
turning it
seemed
into a
to
capital C controversy.
Totally. Yeah. Miss Carolyn Cox from who is this from?
The Mary
The
Sue.
Mary Sue, yeah. She seems to have a tiny bit of an agenda. I mean, she's a little bit, she takes things even a little bit out of context. Even from, quoting from the interview when she says...
The interview with Eve.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
When
I think that
she's,
she was like missing the point at the end where she was like, well, Eve Ensler said that the Holy...
They were
Holy
trying to annihilate. She's
Yeah.
just
the
annihilate.
vagina monologues. It's like, I
didn't
think you're
that.
wrong.
Yeah.
That
And
isn't
maybe,
what I
I
heard.
think this interview may have been through email. So maybe she
Well, and the other thing is, it's
misread.
not even her interview. It's an
Okay.
interview by Howard Sherman,
Yeah.
who did this interview with Eve Ensler, and now it's like another layer
Oh,
of interpretation by Carolyn Cox, who's then like using excerpts from that interview. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's very muddy. I've never even seen the show. This actually made me want to kind of go see it, though. I don't know. Is it possible still? Valentine's Day is over.
It's
Shucks.
I mean, it's a movie. It's like,
yeah, and it gets performed.
I like movies.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have anything else to say?
it's so interesting that you like movies. I also like movies.
Oh my
We should
God.
watch a movie together sometime.
I actually don't, so you guys can just
You
get
don't?
together.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
And we're glad that you've enjoyed this little movie of ours. We'll make another one here in just a few minutes if you'd like to come back and join us. And if you'd like to check out any of the articles that we've talked about, you can find them at cmuptm.blogspot.com and read along. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you later.
Oh.